if you're a heat and air conditioning technician or even a salesperson, what is chasing rabbits in the sales process? And why does it matter? And how do you deal with it? This is a fantastic question. I'm Scott Bell, coming to you live for HVAC Technician Sales Secrets on a perfect day to talk about sales and business and a fantastic day to talk about you. All right, there's going to be a time where you show up in an office building, you show up at a house, and you meet with Mr. Smith, Mrs. Smith, Mr. Jones, and your buyer has a motive. And, all buyers have motives, right? We all do, including me. But this motive is not so bueno, it's not so good. This motive is, I already have a buyer, I already have a preferred vendor. I already have somebody that I want to do business with. And your job, you've only got one thing to do. You're just here to either A, lower the price, or B, confirm that they're giving me a good deal, okay? I guarantee you in the last week, if you are in full-time sales and you ran 10 or 15 leads, you met with somebody who never, ever was planning on doing business with you, right? And so there are ways for you to deal with this. They are not 100% foolproof. They are not always going to work. Okay, so nothing, I can't say with certainty every sales strategy you use is going to work, but about 80% of the time you could say, hey, what's this situation going on? Okay, so you're going to go through your sales process. You're going to meet with your buyer. You're going to do a little bit of rapport. Oh, you like Hawaii? I like Hawaii. Oh, you like cats? I like cats. And then you're going to go into the discovery phase, right? And your discovery phase is probably 10 or 15 minutes long. So when you're asking this question, you're probably going to be about 20 or 25 minutes in, depending upon your personality, maybe through the door, okay? Let's just go with the standard salesperson. And what you're going to do is you are going to ask questions about relationships. But before we go there, you should absolutely join my email publication. Go right here to this URL right above my head, type it into a browser, drop in your name, your email address, maybe your phone number. I'll give you the goods, not in the Facebook group, not in the YouTube channel. Okay. So you're sitting there and you are talking with Mr. Smith, Mrs. Smith, Mr. Jones, and you are going to have a couple of questions, okay? Now, this is my version. You can modify accordingly. I have found this works for me. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, sounds like you want to get this project done. Do you have a preferred vendor? And then they're like, what do you mean? I don't understand. What do you mean by preferred vendor? Do you already have somebody that you're working with on this project? Well, like this is where right? And so what happens is the people who know what you're asking are going to offload the answer, well, maybe, or they're going to play dumb, or they're not going to answer you at all, okay? And so you have to be aware that they've got a playbook, but they're not expecting you to be like, hey, I'm not going to chase rabbits. And chasing rabbits is this. You're going to show up. You're going to give a presentation. Never, ever planned on doing business with you. They just needed that piece of code. They needed that snippet. They needed the price. How much moolah is this thing going to cost me, right? And so here's what you're going to do. You're going to ask, hey, do you have a preferred vendor? They're going to say, what do you mean? Are you already working with somebody? No, I'm not working with somebody. Okay, so has there been somebody that you've had a previous relationship with? You're going to start peeling back the layers of the onion, because you want a couple of confirmations. And, the first time you do this may be uncomfortable, maybe not, depending upon your personality. But you really want to discover and uncover, is this a process that you can go through? Now, in-home sales, it's not uncommon for salespeople to go out to a call and for somebody to fake an appointment so that they can get a proposal so that they could use it against the salesperson in a presentation. There are coaches and trainers in the industry that actually teach this. And so there were times that I would meet with people and I'm like, these answers are off. So you're going to feel it. Something's just going to be like, there's going to be some tension in the air. There's going to be some weirdness. The answers are going to be questioned wrong. The questions, the answers are going to be given to you wrong. They're going to be given out of order. And it's nervous energy on the part of the person. And this absolutely means, hey, sales dude, hey, sales chick, you should be asking questions, and it's perfectly acceptable. If somebody's going to call and waste your time, you have every right to say, hey, time out, what's going on here? Do you have a preferred vendor? Do you have somebody that you're working with? Is like, hands down, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being no, 10 being yes, is there a chance that we're going to do business together? And if they're like, hey, 7, 8, 9, 10, If there's any like, well, like the answer that you're looking for is the, well, because it's a justification, right? And so here is what I would do. If you're like, hey, Scott, now that you've identified all this, what would you do to get out of it? I might go, hey, look, I get it. You're after a piece of information. You may be just trying to confirm a buying decision that you've already made. You may already have a vendor, but I've got some concerns, right? I've got concerns here, and here's my list of concerns. It sounds like you have a trust issue, right? I'm flipping it. I'm going to flip this thing on them and go, hey, sounds like you've got a trust issue. And I'm just going to let them be like, what do you mean? Well, listen, here's the thing. If you had 100% trust, isn't it true that you would just say, let's go ahead and get this done? Right? And like your door in, your trap door in to this conversation is absolutely narrowing down. Why do you not trust the company that you're doing business? Why aren't you just going with them? And you're going to uncover a couple of things. If it's in an organization, they're required to get 3 or 4 bids. If it's a homeowner situation, like they want to get bids, they want to compare price, but this is the conversation. Now, if I figure out through my course of conversation there's no opportunity, me personally, my decision, I'm not sticking around. Me personally, like I used to practice on this type of person. You can practice on them, but just for the mental aggravation alone, I'm like, you know what? Probably not a good idea for us to do business. There's plenty of other people for you to call. You already know your answer. You're just going through the motions. That could be one way. Hey, I just don't think this is a good idea or a proper allocation of my time to go through and figure out, hey, we're not ever going to do business. So, I think it's best if you go figure out how to do this on your own, right? There's a lot of times, especially in construction and trades, where people start asking questions and they start leading and they're like, how would you do this? Like, nobody ever asks me that. I mean, are you asking to ask or do you really want to know? Oh, no, I really want to know. And then like there's like spec questions that they start asking and like, okay, are you an engineer? No, I'm not an engineer. Okay, time out. Sounds like you've already talked to somebody. Like we're gonna kick down the door. Sounds like you've already talked to somebody. Yeah, we've been having conversations. Okay, you can go like just full on black and white. Why am I here? You can soften up the conversation. You can pull back a little bit. Your personality is really going to determine this. I'm much more of like, let's just get this out on the table and whoosh, let's have the conversation. You can dance around it a bit. Hey, seems kind of weird that you would do this. I'm like, hey, we got some issues here. I'm not quite understanding what you called me for. It seems like the only reason I'm here is just to validate, pricing from another company. Or it seems like you're just after my design, right? So like when people would be like, well, what model numbers are you using? Like they want all the secret sauce. Okay, there's people who want to know because like that's their thing. Cool, no problem, ask away. Then there's people who are like, well, I want to know because now I'm going to go do it myself, right? Look, I'm a paid professional, which means I get paid. So if so inclined, if I chose to have the conversation and say, here's the secret sauce, here's how you do it, I might. Or I might go, sorry, sorry, that's not how it works, okay? You have to be aware that sometimes the people you meet with never, ever, plan on doing business with you. And if you can figure this out, this is fantastic. Now, one last thing. There is a poison where you start getting paranoid and thinking this is everybody. It's not everybody, right? It's not. So there is a hidden danger. And then hidden danger number 2 is being an absolute jerk. You don't have to be. Just bounce out gracefully. This isn't going to work. Not going to do it. You got one of 3 things to do from here. Just one of 3. Find the subscribe button. Click on it. And every time I send out a video, you'll get an update. 2, hit follow. 3, share this video with a friend. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.